Now, let's suppose a person is on this level of consciousness. The only thing that person could attract is what's on that level or on that frequency. Consciousness, vibration, frequencies, we're talking about the same thing. If a person is earning, let's say, $25,000 a year, they're not earning 25 because they want 25. They're earning 25 because they are not aware of how to earn 50. If a person's suffering with headaches, they're not suffering with headaches because they want headaches. They're suffering from headaches because they're not aware of how to eliminate the headaches. If a person is alone and lonely, they're not alone and lonely because they want to be. They're alone and lonely because they're not aware of how to change it. Now, what you and I are really seeking is a higher level of awareness. And you know, that's what we're gaining as we're studying this material. The more often you watch this, the more you're raising your level of consciousness. Now, what you're really doing is raising your level of awareness. And we're going to get to the point where we're very, very tuned in. We say the law of vibration could be explained in many ways for various purposes. In this seminar, it is our intention to confine it to thoughts, an effort to improve the quality of our life. Now, I'm just going to touch on the first couple of pages, and then John's going to come up and tie this in on this board to goals. Because that's what we really want to know. We want to know, how does reaching the goal and the awareness of vibration, how do they connect? Where's the connection there? Well, the more we understand this, the more we'll understand what I'm saying here. Because everything vibrates. So what we want to do is get into harmonious vibration with whatever good we desire. We say here on the bottom of page 41, third paragraph in the bottom, for you to grasp a clear understanding of how you can actually take dominion over your results, to understand how and why thoughts and things come into your life as they do, you must go back to this basic premise which we started with in the very first lesson, where I held the glass of water and talked about the energy. We called it water, we called it steam, we called it air, ether, or gas. It was the same energy, it was just altering its level of vibration. Now we say energy is neither created nor destroyed. All science and all theology have taught us that for, let's say, for the past 6,000 years at least in recorded history. Now, everything is merely in a constant state of vibration, being manifest in all varying degrees of vibration. We have the ability to alter the vibratory rate of anything. I could take and alter the vibratory rate of this lectern. Call it lucite. I could turn it into air, ether, or gas. I did that yesterday with a dollar bill. Just 1 minute it was paper, boom, the next minute it was air. I had the choice, I had the ability to do that because I'm a creative being. I do have dominion over. Well, now we know that with simple little things. Let's use it for higher things. We say with free will and the other many mental factors we possess, in our marvelous mind, you have the co-creative ability to cause vibratory change to take place as you choose. If I'm not feeling good, negative vibration, I can switch the idea in my mind. All of a sudden I'm feeling good, positive vibration. How's that controlled? It's controlled by the various ideas that I will choose to entertain from time to time. I'll build here and plant here. Because whatever goes in here dictates the vibration my mind body is in. And we must understand mind body are one and the same, not two. Not two. Now with free will, reason is one intellectual factor, will is another intellectual factor. Reason gives us freedom, and the will gives us the ability to lock into an idea and control our vibration. And stay in the vibration we must be in to attract something that's already here. It's like the way to fly the airplane was already here. We say the lack of ability to exercise this tremendous power for good is caused by ignorance. Now remember I put knowledge over here, and I said through study you develop understanding. Let's look at the polar opposite. Through ignorance, a person gets into a state called worry or doubt. They don't have the understanding of how to change vibration. They don't have the understanding of how to control what's going on the inside by blocking out what's going on the outside. Now, if a person is in this psychic state, that's called a mental disease, they're worried. They think they're not going to get what they need to look after what they say they have to look after. That worry, when it's impressed and changed into an emotional state, it then turns into something that's more commonly referred to as fear. that fear energy has to be expressed through the only instrument it can be expressed through, the physical body. Instantly and automatically, the body moves into a vibration more commonly known as anxiety. Now, the anxiety we usually treat with Valium. However, we have not looked after the cause, we're treating the effect. And the anxiety, of course, moves into disease, which moves into decay. It's like St. Clair Lewis one time said, we don't die, we kill ourselves. What's the polar opposite to this? Well, with an understanding of this law, of this expectant concept that we've discussed, with what John's going to tie in here now to our goals, you never have to worry about whether you're going to reach your goal. Through the repetition of hearing and studying and watching and learning this information, you'll never fear whether you're going to get there. Because you see, understanding gives us the ability, if we cannot see the positive circumstance on the outside, we can build it on the inside. That's why Napoleon said, circumstance, hell, I make them. George Bernard Shaw said, people are always blaming circumstance for what they are. He said, I don't believe in circumstance. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up, look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. They have the understanding they can do that. And through doing that and getting emotionally involved, they then set up an emotional state that's quite opposite to fear. It's called faith. The faith must manifest on the physical plane as health or well-being. Now, this could be in our social life, could be a healthy body, healthy bank account, healthy business. Name it and claim it. So you can see, it really makes a lot of sense to know how to take control of this. We say, let there be light. And there was light. Let there be light. You'll never force light. Light is consciousness. Force negates. Force only works in the physical plane of life. On the mental plane, you have to let it happen. You just let it flow into your consciousness. Flip over to page 42. Page is self-explanatory. I've been talking all the way along. I talked about the importance of environment. We were using Nino's office as an example. It's got a lot of heavy hitters in there, big producers, positive people, people with high expectation, with real worthy goals. I introduced Grant Sylvester yesterday, and I do a lot of work with their company. They got a big company. It's an effective company. That company started 4 years ago with financial planning centers. They have about 90 centers now across Canada. The first center started about 4 years ago in Moncton, New Brunswick. Don McKay and Fern Robichaud started that center. Most people would expect to maybe earn a profit in the first 2 or 3 years. They think that was pretty good. These two men earned $250,000 the first year in business in Moncton, New Brunswick. Now, Moncton is not the economic capital of the world. How did they do it? It doesn't matter where you are outside. It's like Paul said, it's where you are inside. Don McKay and Fern Robichaud expect the best. Grant Sylvester and the executives in that company expect to attract people that want to open businesses, and they attract them. And the people are very successful. This page, 42, focuses on that. It talks about the positive and the negative personalities. We made reference yesterday to Raymond Aaron's Millionaires Club. He has attracted a group of people, every one of them want to learn to be a millionaire. He's a pretty good guy to teach them. The guy's a millionaire. How do you become a millionaire? Same way you can become, or same way any of his people. Right thinking, right ideas. He has the ideas. You want to get them? Go to him. Does he give them to you for nothing? No. Servant's worth is higher. But it works. Why? Environment again. You're in tune. You're mixing with the right people. Now, if you're a negative person, in other words, you're choosing negative ideas, you're worrying, fear, and anxiety, you know the only thing you can attract? The people that are vibrating on that frequency. You're going to attract other negative people. Misery loves company. That just isn't a cute saying. Birds of a feather flock together. Now, if you're a heavy hitter, understand this. Eagles don't flock. Sparrows do. Big difference. And the heavy hitters, they're all attracted to each other. They go to the same clubs. They take the same kind of vacations. They drive the same kind of cars. They live in the same neighborhoods. Now, if you're not one, how do you become one? Mix with them. You choose your environment. That's exactly what I did. 27 years ago, I was sitting in a bar here in Toronto. That's where I spent most of my time and all my money that I could beg, borrow, and steal. I very rarely earned very much in those days. One day I picked up a glass and I looked at it and I looked around and I thought, they're all bums in here. They were. Then I thought, geez, I must be a bum too because I'm always here. I'm one of them. They're one of me. You know what I said? I put the glass down. I said, I'm never coming back as long as I live. And I never have. I never have. And strange thing, none of them have phoned to see how I am. That's almost 30 years ago. They never missed me, did they, Mark? Never did. No, they don't even know I'm gone. On page 43, we're talking about our connecting links. Slowly but deliberately see with your inner eye of understanding how you connect with the good that you desire. We say two objects whose electromagnetic fields are the same, have the same frequency, therefore they are in resonance, in harmony, or have a rapport. When two objects are in resonance, or well within the same sphere of relative motion of each other, vibration can be transmitted from one to the other through the medium of the electron. Resonance is concerned with the electromagnetic field surrounding the objects. We find that a globe on a chandelier will vibrate in resonance with a certain key on the piano, yet it will not vibrate to any other key on the piano, just the one. Music is vibration, I think, isn't it, Scott? That's what it is. Why do you think music will make you feel so good sometimes? Why do you think music will get you jumpy and make you want to dance, you know? Why? Vibration. Affects cells in your brain, puts you in a new vibration. You want to act differently. There's some radio stations that you enjoy. They're in harmony with the way you think. There's some that drive you crazy. They're not in harmony with the way you think. But there's a market for them all. We say all electrical, on page 43, around the middle of the page, all electromagnetic waves or quantums have their rate of frequency, which means the number of changes in direction per second. The electric wave spectrum is in a scale of vibration and is divided into regions. One must remember that these regions are not actual divisions, but merely arbitrary spaces covering frequencies that manifest in our senses in different ways. Each region blending into both the one above and the one below, like we said, like the colors of a rainbow. Now we say the earth and the universe are all but degrees in one scale and are in their basic nature the same. The difference be solely a matter of degree or vibration. All manifests of the same energy. Do you know that when you grasp this idea, all of your prejudices will disappear. It'll disappear. Just like the negative consciousness we're going to show you in the next lesson. They'll disappear. And you know why they'll disappear? Because of understanding. It's the removing of ignorance. Now read this last paragraph carefully. When the world understands this truth, that everything is an expression of the same thing, we will see that all people are the same. They only appear to be different. How do they appear to be different? They appear to be different to our physical senses, our lowest mental tools. The dividing lines are not borders, color, or language, but ignorance. You attract whatever or whomever you are in harmonious vibration with. The results vary. The people remain the same. The results vary. The people remain the same. We may see a black man and a white woman, or a white woman and a black man. You know what I enjoy watching when I see that? I enjoy watching the people around. Watch the expressions on their faces. The shock, the anger, the horror. Do you know what they're expressing? Ignorance. It's them that is in the bad vibration. We have got some real crazy ideas. How do we get these ideas? Well, I remember when I was a little boy, you know, in the little life that John talked about yesterday, I can remember my grandmother. She was a dear old lady. I loved her. I can remember her saying, Well, they're Catholics, but they're nice people. On page 44, we say everything is an expression of the same thing. Now, we're repeating ourselves just different ways. But I want you to take time and read these paragraphs carefully. Re-listen to these tapes. Watch these videos over and over and over again. And tie it in with what we're saying here, and it's going to take on a different meaning. In the second paragraph, you are connected to everything in the universe and everything with you. Whether you can see it with the naked eye or not is unimportant. The only difference between one thing and another is in density or amplitude of vibration. That is the only difference. When you choose certain thoughts, brain cells are affected. They vibrate and send off electric waves. When you are concentrating on those thoughts, you increase the amplitude of vibration of those cells, and the electric waves become much more potent. Do you want your thoughts to be more potent? Develop the willpower, the will, and the mental faculty. That gives you the ability to concentrate. I'll give you an analogy that you're all familiar with. It'll do exactly the same thing. You go outside on a nice sunny day, and you all did this from your little boys and little girls, and you take a magnifying glass, and you may have a piece of paper, some leaves, or you might even have your hand there. And you take the sun, and you put the magnifying glass between the sun and the object, and you can start a fire with it. How? You increase amplitude of vibration. The rays become much more potent. They become hotter, and like that. Let's take a candle, and let's suppose I put a sign way over here on the wall. We turn out all the lights, and I'll light the candle and ask you to read the sign. You'd say, I'm not able to. And I'd say, why? You'd say, there's not enough light. That would appear to be the correct answer, but it would be wrong. The reason you're not able to read the sign is because the light is not being directed at the sign. Now, if I took exactly the same candle power and I confined it in a flashlight and I held the flashlight towards the sign, you'd be able to read it with these. See, well, the candle's here. Some of the light's going on you, some on me, all over the place. But when I confine the same candle power to a flashlight, I'm marshalling that energy and I'm directing it towards a given point, and it becomes much more powerful, and you'll be able to read the sign with these. Enough light, misdirected. We got enough power, we misdirect it. We think of too many unimportant things. Our mind's shooting all over the place. The average individual would have more ideas running across their mind in a matter of a minute than you'd find in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Just total loss of control. Know that you are originating those electric waves, and know that you are also determining the density of them by your own choice. You must also know that since you are originating these electric waves, your whole being is in that particular vibration. Now think. You're taking brain cells and you're causing them to increase in amplitude of vibration, and you're sending off a powerful surge of energy. Do you know the only energy those brain cells can take on is the same energy it's sending off? The only energy those brain cells can take on is a like energy to that which you're sending off. You focus on the negatives in another person, what kind of energy do you think you're taking on? What kind of a vibration do you think you're in? Think it might be a wise idea to focus on the good aspects of even the worst situation? I could have got upset when the yo-yo string broke, or I could laugh at myself. I've got a choice. One time I wasn't able to laugh at myself. Now I frequently do. Yeah. Higher awareness. John always has. Yeah. On page 45. Now, page 45 deals with something we're all familiar with. We have had magnificent instruments that's been used in the medical profession for years. And these magnificent instruments do nothing but measure vibration. The brain, the heart. And they'll tell you whether you're healthy or whether you are moving into trouble. Do you know how they can tell? By the vibration you're in. By the vibration you're in. I remember one time years ago, I had to go for a stress test for insurance. I didn't particularly like the idea of going because it was time-consuming, and who wants to run on a conveyor belt for a half hour? They'd have you running up and down stairs and jumping up and off and down steps. And then they'd lay you down and they'd wire you up. You see, they would put this electrocardiograph on you. And they would measure it, and then they'd have you wait a few minutes, and they'd measure it, and then take a few minutes and take another reading, take a few minutes, take another reading. And of course, you get on there, and your heart's going, blah, 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 and you're out of breath. I mean, you're just about worn out. Now, I have practiced relaxation, meditation, concentration for a long, long time. And rather than take a long time, because I was in a rush, I just instantly returned myself to a normal state. They called me a little while later, said, you got to come back for another stress test. The machine wasn't working right. That's the truth. And of course, there's a lot of people that are able to do that. You're quite able to do it. All you have to do is learn how. And we want to understand that the brain is that electronic instrument that controls the nervous system throughout the body, which is the electrical system in the body. You've heard of people having nervous breakdowns? No such thing. Person had a nervous breakdown, they'd be a puddle on the floor. The nervous system is the electrical system that keeps the body intact. They lose conscious control. Conscious control. This explains why, on page 45, they do not understand how to control this magnificent electrical instrument that they live in. Your body is the most phenomenal object on planet Earth, in the cosmos as far as I'm concerned. We are truly creative beings in charge of our own world, and we're in charge because we can alter vibration. Alter vibration. Or as I was saying with Scott in the music, create new vibration. Color is vibration. Have you ever noticed if you wear a certain color, you feel better? They have found by painting hotel or hospital rooms, nice bright yellows and pinks, people get better faster. Used to be cut well, sew well, get well with the doctors. Well, now they're pink well, you know. I mean, big difference. Now, I'm going to ask you to turn over to page 46. And as you focus in on page 46, I'm going to ask that you focus on your goal. Get the thing that you want more than anything else riveted in your mind, and then take every bit of information that John focuses on this board and relate it to the goal. Don't just listen to it as information. Let this information mean something to you, and take all the ideas that he's going to come across and direct it towards the object or the thing that you truly desire. Dr. Ken McFarland, the late Dr. McFarland, the great educator, he said anything's possible if the motivation is strong enough. You'll remember Heinz Dawes, how his circumstances were not too favorable. He thought he was going to lose his house. Well, Heinz was sitting in the seminar. His fantasy became a theory. Heinz's fantasy, even though he was having difficulty maintaining his home, was to drive a new Cadillac. And it was while he was sitting in the seminar that his fantasy literally became a theory. Heinz took that theory and turned it into a fact in a short 21-day period.
I got my Cadillac in 22 days after I made that promise to myself. There were certain things that Bob suggested. We went to one of the dealers in Toronto and got half a dozen brochures. I cut out the page of the car which I wanted, which was a Coupe de Ville. I had one stuck in the bathroom, one in the dash of my old car, one in the kitchen, one in my attaché case, one in the office, and one directly on the ceiling in our bedroom.
You went and sat in it. You went and sat in it too.
Yes, that was one of the other things. Try to get the senses involved as much as you can. So Bob suggested that sit behind the car and pretend it's yours. Smell the leather. Have the air conditioning blow on you, listen to the stereo. We got the senses involved, and this friend of mine took a picture of me in this car. I still have the picture. I also carried a little goal card with me that Bob suggested, so that every time I put my hands in my pocket, that mental picture was being recreated. I had never written so much business in such a short period of time, ever. And at that time, I was in the business about 15 years. Mm-hmm.
Many of the suggestions we make in the seminar may seem immature, they may seem childish. Heinz Dawes was a mature human being. He had been an insurance agent for 15 years, but he took the suggestions that we gave and he followed through on them.
He literally got a photograph of himself sitting in an automobile. Now that photograph had a real impact on Heinz's brain and ultimately on his mind, and he accomplished that goal in a relatively short period of time. Right on the first page of your action planner, we recommend that you take a photograph of yourself and place it in this square. There's a photograph of yourself. There's a suggestion that you're born rich. You're a prosperous person. Now what we want to suggest is that you get a photograph of yourself with your goal. It might be a new home. Shop around, pick out the place you like, stand in front of it, and get your photograph taken. Go and sit in an automobile. Get the picture of yourself, literally a physical picture, and hold that picture in your mind. Look at it as often as possible. Now, John Canary is going to talk to you about the importance of vibrations and goals. Vibration is everything. That's what the picture does. It puts you in the vibration. Listen to John as he elaborates on that.
Now, someone gave us a number of books here not too long ago, and there's something in here that I want to share with you because I know what happens when we go through this particular session. A lot of people go away from it and they ask this question instead of studying. What do you mean by vibration? What do you really mean? Well, this is about the best definition I've ever found. Every thought changes the rate of vibration. As you are enabled to think greater, deeper, higher, and more forceful thoughts, the brain cells are refined and they become more powerful and they are enabled to receive finer vibrations. What does that mean? I say time and time again to people that we don't get what we want, but we do get what we are. Now you've got to really think about this. We don't get what we want, but we do get what we are. That's probably one of the most important things that I've ever heard. Not only heard, but it's one of the most important things I've ever learned. How do we actually get what we want? By becoming something different in vibration. Now, let me allude to something that I mentioned earlier and something Bob's been talking about quite a bit. When you talk about the attitude of an individual, I mean the total person. What you're actually stating is that my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions represent what is called my attitude. Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions towards your personal life? Just toward you as an individual. What are your thoughts, feelings, and actions, let's say towards your income or your business life? What are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, let's say towards your family life? Because you see, your thoughts, feelings, and actions is what determines your state of vibration. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions, it actually determines who and what you are, as well as what it is you're going to get. As well as what it is you're going to get. Now, I want to cover just one concept to show you how you can actually begin to do it. Here's the first thing you've got to understand, is that knowing does not precede doing. Now, I want you to really think about what I just said. Knowing does not precede doing. The moment we as individuals begin to focus on a particular objective, or we start to look at what it is we want, we don't necessarily feel good about getting it. We can see it, we can think about it, but we don't necessarily feel good about doing it. I'm going to give you a good example. How many people here in sales? That's a few. The rest of you beware. Now consider this for a moment. How many people here really get up, enthusiastic, and enjoy cold calling? How many do not? Now keep your hands up, the ones who do not. Is it true, though, that you know you must do it? Isn't it true that you would like to feel comfortable doing it? The moment that you start to go out cold calling, or as Paul mentioned yesterday, meeting that particular girl. Okay, put your hands down now. Or meeting that particular guy. That is suddenly a demand that changes your rate of vibration, or changes, you could say, the way that you feel. Now, consciously, you know what you have to do. You know what it is you're working toward. You know what it is you want. But inside, there's a feeling, an uncomfortable feeling, or you could say a rate of vibration, giving you feedback, telling you why you can't do it. Now, this is what you have to do in very, very simple terms. How many learned to drive with a stick shift? Do you remember what it was like? Now, isn't it true that consciously you had all the knowledge to drive that car? Yes, no? And you get in there, and you're anything like me, you had a person sitting beside you. And they said, now here's what I want you to do. They're giving you instructions. They said, I want you to put the foot in the clutch, put the other one in the brake. Hold both hands in the wheel. Then reach over, make sure you pull this thing up, and put it down there in the first. Reach over and start the car. Now, as soon as you got to start it, make sure you keep one foot in the clutch, the other one in the brake. Now, as soon as you're all ready, I want you to let your foot off the clutch just a little bit. As soon as you do, take foot off, brake, same time, get a little bit of gas. Get it going about 10, 15 miles an hour. Now, keep in mind, now what you got to do, as soon as you get it going 10, 15 miles an hour, the engine starts to roar. So what do? Take foot off the gas, put the one in the clutch, put it up there in a second. Take foot off the clutch again, put it back in the gas. Get it going to about 20, 25. Now, be careful now. You don't want to go too far because the engine will start to roar again. You burn the engine out. So I'm sure as soon as you do that, you put your foot in the clutch again. Take foot off the gas, though, at the same time, and you put it down there in third, take it back off the clutch again, put it back in the gas, you get it going. You got it? Got it. Now, they said, now, just before you pull out, I want you to be careful. Now, I want you to take one hand, put it over here behind me, keep the other one on the wheel, keep one in the clutch, keep the other one on the brake. Now, they said, as soon as you relax, take this hand back here and take it, grab it down there where it was in third, put it up there into first, put your hand back here, now you got it back up there in reverse. Now, keep your hand in the wheel there, keep the other one in the clutch, keep the foot in the brake, and then start to let it off the clutch just a little bit. As soon as you do, put it in the gas, but just before you do that, make sure you look this way. No cars coming that way, no kids in front. Make sure you look this way. Somebody may be walking behind the car. Now, as you got this here thing going, you're standing like this. What I really want you to do now, as soon as you back that up a little bit, make sure you put your foot back in brake, but make sure you put it back in the clutch again, and put your hand back over, pull it down in the first. As soon as you do that, take it off the clutch, off the brake, then get it going in the gas, go through the same procedure, hit the clutch, put it back up there in the second, take it off the clutch, put it back in the gas, get it going again, and take it off what? Off the gas, put it back in the clutch, put it down in the third, back in the gas, and away you go. You got it? Yeah. Now, what actually happened is you had all the knowledge to drive the car. But you know what's interesting? You were not yet in harmony with your idea. But you started to do it not once, but over and over and over again. And as Bob pointed out yesterday, until the idea became fixed. You developed a sufficient number of brain cells to do it. Now think about this. You have got in mind something that we call a goal. Now, where you are today are where your thoughts have brought you. I don't mean sitting in this room, but I mean that everything that you have brought in your life, everything that you have to this point in time is a result, nothing more, of the state of vibration you were in mentally, emotionally, and physically. Now, folks, instead of working so much toward this on the outside, we have to increase our state of vibration in this way. The more and more that you think about where you're going and how you're going to get there, and you go out and act on the idea. And you know that's the difference? People will not act on the thing they want. They seem to entertain themselves by visualizing that they can have it, how nice it would be to get it, but when it comes to acting on it, their vibration, the way they feel about it, tells them they can't have it. So they spend their life dreaming rather than acting. What was it one time said? And all that was left when his living was through were the mountain of things he intended to do tomorrow. Let me ask you this. What habit patterns do you need to get to where you want to go? What habit patterns do you need to get to where you want to go? I believe it was Oscar Wilde who said one time, Why is it that you and I were never told that in our brain we hold, in just one single tiny ivory cell, this kingdom called heaven, or this kingdom called hell? In other words, when you impress your idea, you cause these cells to move at a certain rate of vibration. Do you know when you take an idea and you impregnate it over and over again, you impregnate that idea into one cell. When you impregnate that idea into the cell, that cell is dividing 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8, 8 into 16 to 32, 64. And the process goes on at the rate of 50,000 cells per second. And the more and more you act on it, even though you don't feel good about it, but you work with the idea, you start to develop this change in vibration. But what is really happening is you're impregnating the cells with the characteristic or the idea. And these cells are going to search out the very thing necessary to get you to where you want to go, to complete the manifestation of that idea. What was the great statement by our friend Einstein that he had burned into the corner of his desk? He said it was responsible for every great invention. When he said that all creation waits with eager longing for the revealing through the sons of man, you and I. In other words, everything that you want is already here. The best way to do what you're doing, it's already here. It's never been thought of, but it's already here. It's just that it's in, as Bob explained, in another form. What we need to do is we need to constantly think about where we're going, what we want to do, and we start to increase our level of thinking by vibration, and we begin to attract thoughts of a like nature that'll move us in that direction. But you can't sit and wish. There is a difference in wanting a thing and being ready to receive it. And being ready to receive it. So just suppose you know what it is you want, and you ask yourself, what habits do I need to form or develop to bridge the gap from where I now find myself to the point I want to reach? You know the only difference in steam and ice is the state of vibration of the water or the H2O. Do you know the only difference in where you are versus where you want to go is your state of vibration? Do you know that everything to get you there is already here? And it always has been. There's a gentleman that I have not met. He's in the audience today. And his name is Boris Pico. Listen to this. This man lost or did not have a car or his driver's license, I'm not sure which. But Boris, where are you? Boris, stand up so everybody can see you for a moment. Boris sold in 1 month without a car 28 homes. But listen to this. What is really interesting is he stands up there. Boris is not going to speak, so it's okay. I just want you to see him. I never even met you, Boris. I just was reading this. Without a car, he sold 28 homes in a month. And he said what happened is, just walk down a little bit, Boris, so people can see you a little bit better there. And what happened is, because he didn't have a car, he said, I decided just to go out and knock on doors every day. Now you see, as a result of that, he not only formed the habit, but he changed his entire state of vibration. Consequently, everything that was in harmony with the way Boris thinks, with the way Boris feels, and the way Boris acts, he started to attract that very thing into his life. That very thing into his life. Without a car. Without a car. Why don't we give Boris a hand? Now, let me tell you one of the reasons I think we don't get to where we want to go. I think it's because we try to be too realistic and too practical about the goals that we set. Now, I've heard people come to me and they'd say, you know, you've got to be realistic and you've got to be practical. I can tell you that's the one thing that no one can ever accuse Bob of being is practical or realistic. Hans Selye, who was the greatest doctor on stress on this earth, anywhere he'd speak, he would attract some of the greatest minds from all over this earth. And I've carried this around with me for a long time, this statement by Selye. And Selye said that he found beyond a shadow of a doubt that practical and realistic people are not as practical and realistic in the long run of life as the dreamers who pursue their dreams. There's an article about a man on here who applied to every United States medical school and was refused by every single one of them, telling him he would never be a doctor. Now keep in mind, the idea that he held was searching out in all these cosmos, every corner of these cosmos, to find a way for that idea to become a reality. And they all rejected him. And almost say the idea doesn't work. And then he wrote it once more. He did it again. They rejected him the second time. And then he wrote once more and they rejected him the third time. Don't you think that was enough to change his state of vibration? Don't you think that was enough for him to turn his desires inward and give up on the goal or the idea? They say depression is energy at its lowest state of vibration. They say that success is energy at its highest state of vibration. Happiness, joy, is orderly vibration. Well, I took this idea because this man, I think you know, as the man with the first artificial heart. In other words, he invented the first artificial heart. Anybody know who I'm talking about? Dr. Jarvik. 3 times he was rejected. But he kept on and he kept on and he made it. I took that idea to a gal who had given up on life. Call her at any time. Her name? Robinson. Hillary Robinson. Hillary was not in the healthiest state at the time. In other words, her state of vibration was very low because Hillary stopped looking in the direction that she should have been looking in. She wasn't expecting things to happen in her life for a happier, for a healthier, for a more productive life. She was not looking for it. Consequently, she wasn't getting it. And as we started to talk to Hillary, remember what I pointed out here? That every thought changes the rate of vibration. You see, if I were to take someone right out here in the platform and I started to get you to build a picture on the screen of your mind about something that is pleasant, that is enjoyable, something that you truly would like to have, you truly would like to be, you would change your state of vibration. If you can maintain it for a period of time, you would enjoy it longer. If you can maintain it for an additional period of time, not only would you enjoy it longer, you'd start to meet people like you. You'd start to bring things consistent with that rate of vibration or state of vibration. In other words, your outside world would change because your inside world has changed. Because your inside world has changed. You could call her at any time. Because you know what happened to this young lady? I'm not going to read her goals and the things she's achieved, but we sat beside her and she listed all of her goals, 10 of them. While she was in that negative state of vibration, we were able to get her to see herself in a different light. She started to list the goals, and she's achieved every single one of them, and I'll throw one more in as a bonus. She just opened her own company with her husband recently. I'll guarantee you, Bill Lawrence, you must know Hillary Robinson that worked with Roy Stevens. Everything changed when her state of vibration changed. And when your state of vibration changes, it changes as a result of your attitude changing. In other words, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, when they change, your whole energy that's being expressed begins to change. Now, on page 46 at the very top, on vibrations and goals, numerous times in other programs it has been suggested that everything you are seeking is seeking you. Think about that. I just mentioned that you are today where your thoughts have brought you. Because as we think, we actually travel. As we think, we travel. We may be able to stand still physically, but we are forever moving in thought. We are forever moving in thought toward that which we most secretly love, be it base of beautiful or a mixture of both. For we always gravitate towards that which we most secretly love. Always do. Even the things we don't like are the things we love. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. It was suggested that we already have everything that we want. You don't have to get anything. It is simply a matter of becoming aware of what you already have, for it is within. It's with you always. If energy is neither created nor destroyed, everything you will ever want is already here. Now think about that. A higher rate of vibration always destroys a lower rate of vibration. If we have negative things in our life that we don't want, we need only go to a higher order of vibration. Now here are some questions you must answer, because it'll tell you what state of vibration you're in. Suppose I were to ask you, do you hate misery more than you love happiness? Do you hate poverty more than you love prosperity? Do you hate disease more than you love health? Because you see, if you hate these things, you increase the possibility of them becoming yours. The thing you hate is yours. The thing you love is yours. Whatever it is you love, it is yours. If not in the physical world, it definitely is in the mental and spiritual world. Do you hate misery more than you love health? Do you love prosperity more than you hate poverty? More than you hate poverty. Let me go on. It is simply a matter of choosing the thoughts that will put you into harmonious vibration with the good that you desire. What are the thoughts that have put you in harmony with the good that you desire? What does your desire look like? Suppose you were to run a movie through in your mind. With you as the star and you as the director, what would it really look like? Because that's how you get into harmony with the things you desire. The moment you bring your life into harmony with the law, the negative will have taken wings, for the cause will have been removed. Think about it. If you want to remove a negative from your life, what you must do is go to a higher order, and a higher order of vibration always destroys a lower order of vibration, and negative is a lower order of vibration. The secret to receiving on the physical plane the results you desire is covered more adequately in the lesson we went over in expectation. Think about it this way. Do you know, in a limited state of understanding, we actually sit down and logically reason that we can only get something, or we can only we can't receive it, or we can't give it until we receive it. We logically try to prove that to ourselves. In a limited state of understanding, we actually try to reason that we must get before we can give. And when Bob goes through the vacuum law of prosperity, believe me, there's going to be some navels pop around this room. Some navels pop around this room. I was with my good buddy, Mike Proctor, last week, and he was telling me a story about a man that I'd sat down and talked to over a year ago. And we were talking about this very thing. I said, you know, my friend, you're in a very negative state of vibration, a very negative vibration. And he got quite upset at me. And I told him unless he changed his state of vibration, he's going to get more of the same in his life, which wasn't very much. Last month, he was at their convention. As the story goes, before the night ended, he had the chairman of the board and the senior vice president in a headlock at 1 o'clock in the morning, telling them what was wrong with the company and how he was going to change it. The next day, he didn't even remember it. But see, I said over a year ago that more of the same was going to happen unless he changed the state of vibration. Obviously, he has not, at least to that day. So this lesson then is designed to help you understand how to get into harmonious vibration with the good that you desire, and then how to stay in that state of vibration. Think about it this way. There are people who come to me and say they're looking for the right mate. How can I find the right mate? Well, what you do is be the right mate. You see, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. And when you become in spirit, when you become mentally, when you become spiritually, when you become emotionally involved in what it is you want, you become that person that would have it. You become that person that would have it. The law of perpetual transmutation of radiant energy. Well, I believe that Bob just briefly touched on it a moment ago when he said a person throws off a positive vibration, that person must, under the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, take on an equal amount, because as we sow, so shall you reap. In other words, when we think about something, good, bad, or indifferent, that energy that we release, we are going to take on an equal amount of exactly the same kind. You're going to take on an equal amount of the same kind. That's why some people believe, you see, that, you know, that if it's expedient to be honest, fine, I'll be honest. If it's expedient to shade it a bit, fine, I'll shade it a bit. No, you get it all back. You get it all back. It's like they said to the old Indian when he was working with his boomerang. They said, why don't you get a new boomerang? Well, he said, every time I throw this one away, it keeps on coming back. And every time you throw out a thought, you don't have to say it verbally. You only have to think it. You only have to feel it. You're going to get it back. That's why we were taught to think well of people. To think well of people. So the law of perpetual transmutation of radiant energy, what does it teach us? Well, you see, if I were sitting down and I were talking to Brian, as a matter of fact, you know, I meet a lot of people in my life, and if I ever wanted to be like anybody, I mean really like someone, and their attitude and just their presence and their well-being, I think it'd be Brian. A more pleasant guy, his state of vibration is so good. He has such a beautiful state of vibration. You just feel it when you're around him. It makes you feel comfortable. You like yourself because you've met him. That's because, you see, he makes you feel good about you. Now you think about this, and then I'm going to bring this in for a landing. People go out and they say, I'm going to try this about giving and receiving. I heard this Proctor and Canary said that if you just go out and do the best you can for people, you're going to get it all back. They said it, so it must be. And I've watched people go out, like Tammy, and they give their best, and doesn't come back. And then I watch someone else will go out, and they'll give a person the best they've got, and they'll give them all the knowledge, all the information they need, and the person will stroll down to someplace else and buy what it is they want. And you say, that's it, I'll never do that again as long as I live. They were wrong. I'll never go to one of those seminars again, it's all a pile of. Let me ask you something. Have you ever received anything just like that? You never asked for it. You never really expected it. It could have been a sale where someone just walked in and said, I'll take 4 of those. And you go, you'll never believe what a coincidence. Did I ever get lucky today? Someone walked in and bought it all. Has that ever happened to anybody where you made or something happened you weren't expecting it totally? That ever happened to anybody? Am I the only one? I was going to ask how many people know how to hold up their hands. But now think about this. Your responsibility is just one. Just one. If you can understand that every thought changes your state of vibration, every thought you entertain. That means that the only responsibility we have is to put it out. To put it out. Universal principle, spirit, whatever that which is. The no thing, as Edison called it. It will reciprocate in like kind, but it does not say when or from where or through whom it is coming back. Please understand that. If I give the best I've got to Jim, I may get it back from Brian. Spirit, universal intelligence, it will determine whether I'm getting it back and when and how I'm going to get it back. I'd give anything for a young person to understand that. Because you don't get it back from the person you've given it to doesn't mean you're not getting it back. Your responsibility is to put it out. Universal intelligence will determine how, when, and through whom it is coming back. It is coming back. I'm sure that years ago in 1975 down at the Hyatt when Bob was sitting down with Paul Hutsey, that never in his wildest dreams did he ever think he was going to get back a lot of the things that he was putting out at that time. He just knew he was getting it back, but he didn't know when. But it still is. It still is. So let me ask you this. If you don't like what you're getting back in your life, I'm going to ask you, have you examined lately what you're putting out? And how you examine what you're putting out is you ask yourself, what is my state of vibration? What is it? Well, here's how you tell. What are my thoughts, feelings, and actions toward my personal life? What are my thoughts, feelings, and actions toward my business life? What are my thoughts, feelings, and actions toward my family life? That's how you tell. That's not difficult to do. And that'll tell you what your attitude is, what your state of vibration is, and it'll tell you why you have the things that you actually have.
You may want to review that part that John just covered, and most certainly reread page 46 and jot down the notes that come to your mind as you relate the message or the ideas on that page about vibration and goals to your own specific situation. We've given you some suggestions on other goals. We've suggested trips, cars. It may be furs or jewelry. Watch this, and then prepare yourself as we bring this in for a landing on the last cassette. There's some interesting information that I think you'll even find fascinating.